this is a rivalry game, which I expect from us. It's going to be a tough game every time we go out there and play UC. It's going to be physical. It's going to be an emotional game.
And now an altercation, and this is the last thing you want to see. The bench is clear. Punches are being thrown. This is a rivalry that has a history of being venomous.
No love lost in one of the great rivalries in college basketball. Cincinnati and Xavier, the 84th all-time meeting. Kyle Washington and Rasheed Gaston for the tip. Veteran officiating crew John Higgins, Doug Shows, Tony Green. They're going to need to be tight tonight. There is a significant history of hatred between these two teams, and the Bearcats started off tonight in a top 25 matchup, just the third in this rivalry. Gary Clark for Cincinnati against a double, the kick for Jacob Evans. And an offensive rebound for a very good offensive rebounding team in Cincinnati.
And that's one of the few offensive rebounds that Xavier gives up in the course of a game.
Top 5 in the country is Xavier in defensive rebounding percentage. It's Clark on the back down again to break the scoring seal.
So that's the way this game has to go for Cincinnati. Easy shots or second chance shots as well. Xavier gives up 6.6 fewest in major conference as far as offensive putback.
Rasheed Gaston misses. It's Clark. Got it knocked away from the backside by J.P. McCura, but Clark recovers, and he's got the first 4. He did not score last year in this rivalry matchup against Xavier.
And one of the things Cincinnati has to work on is keeping Edmund Sumner out of the paint.
Gaston got a good look, but he's missed his first 2 tries. Here comes Cincinnati on an early push. Troy Copain, who is 0 for 3 in his career against Xavier, the senior, one of 2 who's gone 0 for 3 against Xavier in their Cincinnati career. A good job by Trayvon Blewett, Xavier's leading scorer, to come over and tie it up. And the other way it goes for Xavier. Mick Cronin, Cincinnati-born, LaSalle High School bred, an alumnus of Cincinnati, 3-7 in his career thus far against the Musketeers. A Xavier team that's coming off a win on Sunday against Georgetown to snap a 3-game losing streak, their longest in the last 3 years. But granted, all 3 of those losses came against top 25 Big East teams.
And you can see Cincinnati willing to live with the post-entry pass down low, but they need to keep Summers out of the paint because of his ability to create.
Kaiser Gates late in the clock buries the 3. 35% three-point shooter is the sophomore, and it's a 1-point game.
And that was a nice job by J.P. McCura. If Sumner can't get in the paint, somebody has to for Xavier in order to make their offense and their good perimeter shooting work.
Cincinnati on a 10-game win streak and a 19-game home win streak, tied for the longest under Mick Cronin. Clark, the back down, the kick to Jacob Evans. That is Cincinnati's leading scorer, 10th in the American Conference at 14 per game.
And right now we're seeing a trend. Both teams want to play inside out.
Gates misses the 3.
Because when you're doing the lateral passing and trying to knock down 3s, it makes it more difficult. Inside out allows the shooters to step in to their shot and gives them greater accuracy, in my opinion.
Here is Evans for a Cincinnati team averaging 77 per game, the highest total under Mick Cronin. The senior Johnson cannot connect, and a great skying rebound by Kaiser Gates. Here is Edmund Sumner, the kick to McCura, and J.P. McCura buries the 3, coming off a 20-point game against Georgetown.
Yeah, the fear from Cincinnati was the Xavier transition game. They've got a number of guys who can pull up even in transition on the fast break and knock down 3s. You got to find shooters.
Kyle Washington, good defense by Gaston. He's able to use that baseline as an extra defender for Chris Mack, who is 5-2 against Cincinnati as the head coach of Xavier. Of course, he was born in Cleveland, but bred in Cincinnati, a graduate of St. Xavier High School. and an alumnus of Xavier as well. Here is Copain, the senior, has his first 2 of the night.
And Adam, that is the strange part about this rivalry this year. Only one player from each team hails from Cincinnati.
Sumner draws the foul on the interior, and that'll take the redshirt sophomore from Detroit to the foul line on a Copain foul.
So essentially, neither of these teams know each other very well, if at all. It's the coaches who have the history.
That's right.
You know, Mick Cronin went to high school in Cincinnati, went to UC. Obviously, Chris Mack, high school in Cincinnati, went to Xavier. They know this rivalry extremely well.
Edmund Sumner, second leading scorer, averaging 15 a game. Now you see that left shoulder. He's got the wrap and a little bit of padding on the left shoulder. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury since the loss to Villanova and had it banged up on the Sunday win against Georgetown as well. So keep an eye out for that as the night wears on.
Yeah, and that first real penetration by Sumner into the paint, you see why Cincinnati is fearful of him getting there too often because of his ability to create for himself and others.
Sumner is defending Gary Clark. That is not an easy assignment either for Sumner, who's not the thickest defender by any means. Washington can't connect. He tried to fly in for the offensive rebound, and Sumner came out of the pack. Look at Edmund Sumner, well defended on the interior, and a foul called against Xavier. A high-octane, high-pace, high-intensity first 4.5 minutes. And we're going to chill things out with our man Seth Greenberg on the other side. We're very pleased to be joined by the man himself. He'll be with Mick Cronin when you come back to the 84th Crosstown Shootout. You're watching the American Conference on ESPN from the Queen City of Cincinnati. 19th ranked Cincinnati, 24th ranked Xavier. An early 1-point lead for the Bearcats, who have their best offense ever under Mick Cronin, who's in his 11th season as the head coach of the Bearcats. Adam Amin, Len Elmore. Seth Greenberg is with us. He'll join us in a moment as well. Troy Copain has 2 early points for the Bearcats. And we go to the sideline with Seth and Mick Cronin.
Mick, what was the one point you wanted to do to crush your team in that timeout?
Transition defense, lost them twice for threes. They're great at it now. If we don't get that under control, we're going to really be in trouble.
Great, thanks.
We're going to keep an eye on that the entire night. Lenny, that's something you brought up very early in this game. Xavier's going to want to push the pace when they get the chances to.
Yeah, and when they have 2 guys like Gates and Makura who can knock them down from beyond the arc, you've got to be able to find shooters in transition instead of packing it in the paint.
You said it, Xavier looking for a solid road win against a ranked team tonight. Clark can't connect on the 3.
Wow.
Johnson with the offensive rebound, and Kevin Johnson, who again is 0 for 3 in his career against Xavier, gets his first 2 of the night.
I said it earlier, Xavier allows only 6.6 second chance points, which is the fewest among major conference teams, and already Cincinnati has 6 second chance points.
They average 13.5, which leads the American Conference. Here is Sumner against Copain. That'll be a nice matchup tonight. Here is Blewett, but a whistle and a foul called against Xavier, and it's Rashid Gaston with the offensive foul. So Xavier will make an early substitution, and they'll bring in Sean O'Mara. He brings size and some girth off the bench for the Musketeers at 6'10", 244 pounds. Malcolm Bernard, a 6'6" guard, and the transfer from FAMU will come in as well. He's a grad transfer, and he's got the assignment on Evans.
The difference with O'Mara coming in, he may not be as foot quick as Gaston to be able to cover a guy like Kyle Washington as he steps to the perimeter.
And Gary Clark has Sumner on him. That's a major size matchup, an advantage for Cincinnati.
And the veteran team went right away to Gary Clark down low to go after Edmund Sumner.
They already have 7 points off post touches to the Bearcats. Here is Makura with a great fake, got space. That is smooth looking from the 6'5" junior.
Yeah, a young man has no fear, particularly on the offensive end. I used to say he never met a shot he didn't like, but I like most of the shots he's been taking.
You know, Seth, I was thinking about this with you earlier tonight. Mick Cronin talked to Mike Bray earlier this year about trying to shift up their offense a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of adopted a more of a motion philosophy, trying to kind of an equal opportunity offense, moving guys to different places. That's what they've done with Gary Clark. On those screen downs, he's creating a switch, which gives Clark a huge advantage, and Clark's really did a nice job of being aggressive.
Here is Blewett, beautiful behind the back for two.
It certainly pays off because Cincinnati averaging 77 points a game. You don't usually equate that much scoring with a Cincinnati Bearcat team.
Yep. Point advantage early for Cincinnati, and Clark on the cut with the feint, and Washington got blocked by Bernard. The veteran Malcolm Bernard from the backside. Makura transition triple, and it's rebounded by Johnson.
A solid defense and help side as Bernard caught Washington unaware. Now Washington kind of forces the shot, but he gets the benefit of the call. You take a look. Excellent penetration by Clark. And out of nowhere, Bernard comes from the top and blocks that shot. You know, Washington didn't know what hit him.
And Sumner has his second foul, so the second leading scorer, their top assist man, a very good defender, at the 12:50 mark, picks up his second foul. And Washington at the stripe.
And that's another way to defend Edmund Sumner. Put pressure on him, force him to play defense, get him in foul trouble. That'll put him on the bench.
Johnson and Copain, the seniors, will go out as Washington's at the stripe. Transfer from North Carolina State. Brewster High School in New Hampshire, originally from Minnesota. He's a basketball geek, says Mick Cronin. A lot like Sean Kilpatrick was, a lot like Kenyon Martin was. Those are nice comparisons for a Cincinnati uniform.
Yeah, I think at this stage, though, he's got to calm down a little bit. Better free throw shooter at 70% than he just showed.
And free throws are going to be big, and you know who gets to the line a lot, too, is Xavier. They're coming off a game where they shot 49 free throws. Makura with his second triple, and he's got 8 points early. First lead for the Musketeers.
And with Edmund Sumner on the bench, Cincinnati now has to refocus their defense. You know, got to take Makura as well as Blewett away and force somebody else to beat him. Look at the Xavier defense right now, really keeping Cincinnati at bay on the perimeter.
The overcommit by Bernard ended up giving Evans an open look. Nobody blocked out Kyle Washington underneath that time.
Washington just a little bit quicker to the front of the rim than O'Mara, and that's what I said. Losing Gaston, you lose a little bit of quickness, and that little bit makes a difference.
Jaron Cumberland, a freshman, and Justin Jennifer, a sophomore, out there right now for Cincinnati as well. Here is Blewett for three. He knocks it down off the Quentin Gooden assist. So Gooden handling the point with Sumner on the bench. Cumberland back the other way, and he'll draw the foul. Same thing in the second 4 minutes as we had in the first four. High pace, high intensity. And when you come back, we'll tell you about the tall and short of great rivalries in sports. You're going to love this when you come back. Or you'll laugh, one or the other. Three-point Xavier lead in this crosstown shootout in Cincinnati. Awards are rolling in. The buzz is about for this brand new segment that we're bringing you. It is called the tall and the short of it, and I hope you recognize which one is which in this particular scenario. We're going to give you the tall and the short of some great rivalries in sports, not just college basketball. We start with my man Len Elmore, and we start on the floor here in college basketball.
Yeah, I got three, and in descending order, Duke-Carolina rivalry. Outstanding performances, you know, terrific Hall of Fame coaching, and I'm happy to be an innocent bystander there. Number two, Ali Frazier, three epic fights and serious performances by two men, willingly or not, who represented different political and cultural considerations. And finally, my favorite is the only team I have affinity for, New York Yankees and the Red Sox. Whether it's the 4 days in October and the Bloody Sox, or Bucky Bleeping Dent and Aaron freaking Boone. There's a roller coaster of emotions in that one.
So the short of the rivalry matchups, I went a little bit outside the box here because I feel like there are some other fans outside the main sports that might appreciate this. Our own Chris Evert was in an iconic rivalry with the great Martina Navratilova. They met 80 times. 80 times. Can you believe that? An incredible rivalry between those two. And I know my father would appreciate this. India and Pakistan in cricket. They've met in the test matches, the one-day internationals, the 2020 internationals. Tumultuous relations going back to the Kashmir conflict, man.
Remember, they have nuclear weapons, too, so there's a lot at stake there.
That goes back to 1952. And so Seth Greenberg is with us tonight. We're so happy he's with us for this great one tonight. We've got the tall and the short of it. We figured maybe we'd also add the bald-faced truth. How about that?
The bald-faced truth is you guys missed it all. Ohio State and Michigan football. Are you kidding me?
No, I got
Bo
you.
Schembechler, Woody Hayes. Now you got Urban Meyer and Harbaugh. Harbaugh's like the John Calipari of football. He thinks way outside the box. They're going to Rome for spring practice. Are you kidding me?
That was number 4 on my list.
That's right, yeah. For Lenny, that was honorable mention, man. So happy you could be a part of this one, Seth. You know what? We're at 9 minutes in. Seth, give me your synopsis of what you've seen so far.
Well, Mick Cronin wasn't very happy with his perimeter defense. He doesn't think they're doing a very good job of locating the shooters on the perimeter, as they just gave up another three to Trayvon Blewett. I mean, when Blewett knocks down 2 threes and J.P. Pecura knocks down 2 threes, that's not part of the defensive game plan for Cincinnati. They've got to run those guys off the three-point line.
And Xavier, not a typically great three-point shooting team, Lenny, just 33% of the year.
But on that one, there's not a whole lot Brooks could have done. He was all over Blewett, and Blewett still knocked it down. You got to get to it early. Do your homework earlier.
Cumberland, the freshman on the drive, and it's loose to Blewett. Running with Pecura. Blewett himself blocking foul against Jennifer. So Saturday, part of our SEC Big 12 Challenge, this is a blockbuster, a sonic blockbuster, in fact. Top 5 matchup, both teams coming off losses. We'll see what the fire is going to be like at Rupp Arena. Number 2 Kansas, number 4 Kentucky on ESPN at 6:15 Eastern time. If you're in your car, I'll be on the radio with Bob Valvano on ESPN Radio with the call. Seth, you and the Game Day gang are going to be there at 11 o'clock Eastern time. What are you expecting when UK and KU square off again?
Well, at 11 o'clock, I expect 21,000 people in Rupp, and probably none of them have tickets for the actual game later that evening. But you're talking about 2 elite backcourts. I'm a huge Frank Mason fan. I think he's one of the toughest guards in all of America. But I think the key matchup will be Josh Jackson. I'm not sure Kentucky has a matchup for Jackson. He is a matchup nightmare at the 4 spot for Kentucky.
Well, I expect really for Kentucky to do an awful lot as far as pressure is concerned to try to take Jackson out of the game by forcing passes away from him. But we'll see. 2 Player of the Year candidates in Mason III as well as Malik Monk.
Yep.
That's going to be something.
Outstanding backcourts. Another offensive rebound for Cincinnati. Leads to a Kevin Johnson 3. Plus, a foul is called. This might be against Xavier. Might be tagging Tyreek Jones with it underneath the rim. Watch Zero right underneath the rim, kind of jockeying with Kyle Washington.
Watch the problem. Using the arms. It's almost like the swim move, and then using the arm to push away, and that's been a point of emphasis, that kind of rough play down low. I always say use your hips and shoulders when you're in positions like that rather than your arms, and you more than likely will get away.
So how about that? It was a 7-point Xavier lead when this trip began. An offensive rebound, a 3, and a foul later, and now another Tyreek Jones foul will be his second. Cincinnati is starting to assert itself. That's the 6th foul on Xavier here in the first 10 plus.
Well, without Rasheed Gaston on the floor, you know, they tried Sean O'Mara, and now they're trying Tyreek Jones against Kyle Washington, and Washington's mobility has paid dividends.
And that's a blocking foul called as Washington immediately got a post pass. Kaiser Gates had the right idea to try to come over and take the charge, but it's a blocking foul.
Yeah, you got to give the guy a chance to change direction. People say you got to give him 3 feet or whatever. No, it's an opportunity to change direction, in my opinion, and in the officials' opinion and judgment, that wasn't enough right there.
So Washington, who is top 5 in field goal percentage in the American Conference this year, he does a little bit of everything and does it at a pretty high level, but has struggled early at the free throw line in this game.
Yeah, he's got to calm down, and you know, you can see that he's pretty amped up. This is his first crosstown rivalry, Heard a lot about it, spoke to him a little bit before the game. He seemed calm enough.
Beautiful feed. Jones got hit, and count the basket. Doug Shows called the foul and is going to give the basket to Jones underneath. And Kyle Washington picks up his first foul.
There is no continuation in college basketball.
I have to disagree with that call based on what you just said.
Yeah.
You're not giving continuation like you do in the NBA. I thought that was an early foul.
Yeah, both Jones's feet were on the ground, and he hadn't really gone into his shooting motion until after Washington had fallen off him. I guess that's justice right there.
Ball don't lie, I guess. Cumberland to the rim. Now he'll go to the line. You know, there have been rivalry games between Xavier and Cincinnati that have been marred with fouls because the physicality of the coaches and that they preach rather to their teams. No surprise that we're seeing a lot of physicality in this game early.
Yeah, right now though it's Xavier that's in better control of the tempo, better control and discipline in their half court. And Cincinnati's going to have to find a formula to be able to run their sets. Xavier's done a terrific job of knocking them out of sets.
Sumner has 2 fouls, as does Jones, as does Gooden.
Take a look at 3 out of the 5 starters sitting on the bench right there.
And Cumberland tried to squeeze it. It ends up in the hands of Jones. That was a good job to run that down by Xavier. First half has been played in a 12-point window thus far.
And this is what I mean. A little better idea of what you want to do in your half court. As Cincinnati has to exert that terrific defense. They haven't really done it much. There you go.
Gooden forced the pass underneath, and here comes UC. Copain back on the floor. That high hedge from Jones. He's got to go run back and recover at the rim. He's got the tough matchup on Washington, who's been a foul magnet for Xavier defenders early. Clark spinning to the rim. He's got 8 in the first half.
That is such a tough matchup for Xavier.
Yeah.
Gary Clark over the summer became far more adept on the perimeter, knocking down threes, and you have to honor that, and that's when he puts it on the floor and does what you saw.
Gooden, the kick to Blewett, and a red-hot Trayvon Blewett stays that way in the first half. His 3rd 3, and he's got 13 of the 28 for Xavier.
You know, over the last 5 games coming into this game, Blewett only shot 35% from the field, 27% from beyond the arc. So he has found a new fire.
Washington continues to bully his way inside, and a 3rd Tyreek Jones foul. The Saturday SEC Big 12 Challenge triple header on ESPN. A&M's won 2 in a row, taking on West Virginia, who just came off that win against Kansas. You'll be looking live in Norman. Our buddy Brent Musburger. 2 games left. He'll be with Dick Vitale for Florida OU. And then the 3rd game of our triple header before Kansas, Kentucky will be Texas and Georgia. All 3 games on ESPN, the ESPN app, and watch ESPN. A very hearty, heartfelt congratulations on what has been one of the most spectacular broadcast careers ever to our colleague and friend Brent Musburger. We're going to miss you a whole lot, my friend. Thanks for everything you did. Nine fouls on Xavier here in the first half, so the final 8 minutes, the rest of the way, it'll be double bonus for the Bearcats.
Chris Mack sensing, you know, Cincinnati's starting to find their way. Puts Gatson, Sumner, and Makura back in the ballgame.
See Sumner back out on the floor, picked up his 2nd foul at the 12:50 mark. Back in the game after about 5 minutes. Makura on the floor as well. This is a good offensive lineup out there for Xavier, and some contact with Gary Clark and Makura in the corner will take us to a timeout on the floor. Trayvon Blewett off to a red-hot start, 5th in the Big East in scoring. He's got 13 of the 28. He's hot from the outside. Three for 3 from the perimeter, coming off a 24.5 rebound game against Georgetown. He's been big. You gotta represent the folks beyond the border up north. Good stuff from Adnan, Kara, and Jeff. We'll see them in 7:40. And Kara talked about it. Trayvon Blewett, he's got 13 of the 28. Very crucial to this team. He's a volume shooter, not necessarily high efficiency from outside, but volume and streaks can be very dangerous for opposing teams against Blewett.
Well, he's 6th in the Big East in scoring, but last year he shot almost 40% from beyond the arc, only 32% this year. And as I mentioned, the last 5 games before here, he wasn't shooting it all that well. All he needed was to see the ball go through the basket a couple of times before he reverted back to form of last year, and he has really been accurate.
Remember, he had the 2 free throws with 11.5 seconds left 2 years ago on this floor in a rally for Xavier to beat Cincinnati 59-57.
Well, right now, this game is about Xavier from beyond the arc versus Cincinnati in the paint.
And Kyle Washington is making things really difficult on Edmund Sumner, trying to inbound the basketball. Washington at 6'9", 230, but he's got some impressive reach. Cumberland guarding Blewett, and that'll be a foul against the freshman. That's a tough assignment for anybody, but especially a first-year defender at the college level.
Yeah, and especially when your coach is telling you got to push up on the perimeter shooters. Blewett 3 of 3 from beyond the arc. And the freshman is taking coach to heart almost too much right now.
Inbound came into Makura, and a turnover here for Xavier. That's their 4th.
And Adam, you mentioned it. Attribute that to the length of Kyle Washington and the frustration of Edmund Sumner, who tried to sneak that pass in, thinking that the defender wasn't watching as Makura broke at least what appeared to be open.
Copain, Clark, Evans, Washington, 4 starters for Cincinnati and Cumberland.
We talked about Cincinnati playing in the paint and second chance points. 21 of their points have either been from the paint or second chance until now.
That's Copain, a long 2. And Cincinnati is back within 3.
And they needed that bit of diversity in their offense. Maybe it kicks them back into rhythm, as Xavier's done a terrific job of taking Cincinnati out of rhythm when they're not hitting the glass, the offensive glass, or driving to the basket.
And Seth, we were talking about this earlier today. Cincinnati just about 1 through 5. More often 1 through 4 will switch everything on defense.
Cincinnati just went to their matchup zone, switching any cut away from the basketball. And you really got to do a great job of communicating in that. And what they're trying to do right now is take Xavier out of some type of rhythm and tempo. And in the first possession, they were successful.
Turnovers plaguing the Musketeers the last couple of trips down the floor. They've got 5, Cincinnati with just 1. And Sumner guarding Copain now. And it's Cumberland taking a 3. Probably not Cincinnati's best shot there, but another offensive rebound. Copain got it stripped. Clark recovered it. Could not connect. It was tapped back up and around and out. Clark with another rebound and trying to find Copain. Wild sequence, and it's Xavier Ball still with a lead.
But aren't you impressed with the hands of Gary Clark?
Sure.
Getting to the 50-50 ball, by being a little bit quicker, but having outstanding hands to wrest that ball away from the defender.
Cincinnati's got 7 offensive rebounds. We talked about that. One of the best offensive rebounding teams in the American against one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the country. There is Sumner working with 2 fouls, just 2 points and no field goals.
And again, Cincinnati doesn't mind Xavier moving the ball from side to side, east-west, as long as they're not going north-south, and you can see the result of that.
Makura just forced one up. Draws the foul on Makura and knocks it down.
Jacob Evans, that's just a one-on-one move, backed his defender off. 17 double-figure games, top 10 in the American in scoring, 9th in field goal percentage. This sophomore has really come to at least play to his potential. Last year, a little slow in getting it started.
John Higgins, who's worked 7 Final Fours in his career, is chatting with Mick Cronin about something. Again, we have Tony Green and Doug Shows as well, and I believe a technical foul was assessed. Because now Trayvon Blewett is at the free throw line. He's got 14, and he'll have one more coming. Let's see if we can get an explanation for exactly what went down a moment ago. Perhaps it was on Evans after the shot. Maybe we can get a look at it. Now you see Doug Shows right there, and yeah, maybe a little bit of taunting. And you said it, Doug Shows was standing right there. He's a multiple Final Four official. Tony Green's worked multiple Final Fours as well.
I'm hopeful that both coaches recognize the intensity of this rivalry over the years, and that they kind of warn their players that, you know, you've got to really rein it in. It's not time for celebrating, not time for talking smack right now, because the officials will be looking very closely, and that's evidence right there.
And Seth, to that point, you talked to Mick Cronin about the message before this game.
Yeah, right before the game, his main message to his team was, I want you to play with great emotion, but don't be emotional. And right there, the emotional side of it cost Cincinnati. But he wants them to play with great energy, great passion, and great emotion, but you can't be emotional and let it get the better of you. And on that play, it got the better of Cincinnati.
Well, especially when you direct it to the other team. If you pump your fist in the air and you talk to your teammates, that's one thing. Leave the other guys alone.
Nasir Brooks misses the jumper. Xavier comes back the other way. Brooks is going to play down low on defense for the Bearcats. He's got some size and width.
For both teams, it's time to let your game do the talking.
Blewett is doing just that in the first half. He's got 4 threes, and Xavier is back up by 5. An 18-point first half for the junior from Indianapolis. Xavier is led by as many as 7, Cincinnati by as many as 5. Clark backing down the smaller Blewett, and a foul is called. There will be 2 shots.
Trayvon Blewett needs help. I mean, that's obvious, as Gary Clark just muscled him from 8 feet off the lane right down to the low block. And as a team, you can't allow them to do it. Now, one of the reasons they're going right after Blewett is this. Blewett is knocking him out with his perimeter shooting. And the best way to kind of curtail a hot shooter is to force him to play defense.
Yeah, maybe tire out his legs a little bit because he looks fresh.
Or get him in foul trouble. One
that
of
too,
two.
yeah. 2 shots for Clark at the stripe, and Cincinnati with a 4 of 11 start from the free throw line.
Wow, can't put the blame anywhere except on themselves. Easy opportunities. Mick talked about that before the game, and he talked about that to us. They need easy opportunities. Yep. Nothing easier than free throws.
Johnson will check in for Cumberland. So how about Clark? He's got 9 in the first half after going scoreless a year ago. And then Blewett, who had scored 5 points in his 2 career games against Cincinnati, and who averages 17 a game this year, has a monster 18-point first half working.
And they're guarding each other.
Yeah, that is just awesome. You having fun yet, by the way? Just out of curiosity?
Oh, it was fun this afternoon in practice, man.
Trayvon Blewett is on fire in the Queen City. A 7-point lead and a 21-point first half for Blewett. Incredible.
What's incredible is, you know, as a Bearcat, you've got to take that young man out of this game, and he is finding ways to score, even though he's the focal point of the defense.
It's Clark working against Bernard, and 6 to shoot on the other side of this break. Of course the dignitaries are out tonight. The Big O, Oscar Robertson, going from his customary courtside seat. He's going to go chat with our buddy Seth Greenberg on the other side of this break. You should not blink, because Trayvon Blewett might make another shot. What a first half. 6 of 6, 5 of 5 from 3, 4 of 4 at the line, 21 in the first. So a couple of years ago, Xavier fans adorned the Oscar Robertson statue with a homemade Xavier jersey and flag. So this year, UC students camped out next to the statue of Oscar to protect it. And Oscar, as a reward, showed up, delivered pizza and some warm clothing to the kids that were out there in the cold and in the wind. The Big O is with our Seth Greenberg here in Cincinnati.
Oscar, how'd the Oscar watch go? And there's a rumor you delivered a little pizza to the guys that protected the statue.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they were out there protecting the statue. Then I found out, so I got them some pizzas.
That's crazy. Think about this. In your games against Xavier, 3 years. One, you played 119 and 120 minutes. You only averaged 33 and 15 boards. That's not bad, but how big a game was this to you back then?
It was a very big game. I didn't realize when I started playing, but a lot of the guys played together in the summertime, and so they were bragging a lot, so it was a huge basketball game.
What does this game mean to the city?
I think it means a lot. It means a lot to Cincinnati because they've been beaten so many times. They got to have this one tonight.
Your game right now, with the way college basketball is today, they're trying to create a little more freedom of movement. I mean, it was a little more physical back in your day. You got 33 in these games. What have you gotten in today?
No, I don't know. It just, I see the way they play. I'd like to have been able to dribble like these guys do because when you dribble like this, there's a lot of hesitation in the ball, and I might have scored maybe 40 a game.
So basically, Oscar thinks that these guys are carrying it a little bit too much and getting away with a little bit of stuff. But right now, moving forward, what do you think Cincinnati has to do the rest of this game to get back in this thing?
Well, I think that number 11 got to get the ball more, and I think Copain's got to shoot.
Great. Thanks, Oscar. Appreciate it.
Seth, Oscar, thanks so much. He said it. Gary Clark needs the ball. Troy Copain's got to shoot. Trayvon Blewett travels with the basketball. And after all of that, it's Cincinnati ball in a 4-point deficit with 3:09 for the first.
Well, certainly you can tell that the emphasis in that Cincinnati huddle was defense. Blewett goes to the paint, and 3 guys go after him. They forced the turnover.
Now, Cincinnati, Oscar was talking about it, is the state school, 24,000 roughly undergrad students. Xavier's the Jesuit school, 4,500 undergrads. There hasn't been NBA in this city since 1972 when the Royals went to Kansas City. This is the one game out of the year that everybody in the city gets jacked up for, riled up for. We've seen some of the images and the video of what has gone on in this rivalry and how intense it can be. I mean, this is an incredible atmosphere. It's my first crosstown shootout. You've been here for a couple. How is this stacking up right now to you?
Well, I mean, again, both of these teams are ranked, but even more importantly, as you broaden this out, if people read the newspapers, you know, this Cincinnati community can at times be divided over a number of things, but you got to find common ground, and right now the common ground are these 2 wonderful teams, and the young men playing with intensity. Everybody can root for their team and bring a community together, and that's the beauty of sports.
Third turnover for Mick Cronin's crew. Now, Cincinnati didn't really start dominating this series until Oscar put on a Cincinnati jersey in the late 50s. Kind of took that into the 80s. It was more balanced into the 90s. And then in the mid-90s is when Xavier started this run, when they knocked off #1 Cincinnati in 1996. Since that win, they've won 14 of the last 20 meetings between these two, 7 of the last 9, and 3 in a row. Here is Bernard on the deck, rejected by Brooks.
We talked about Cincinnati's identity, and that was their defensive identity. 6 blocks a game, and they usually turn it into some kind of transition, but it worked against them here.
Blewett throws it down. Trayvon Blewett with 23 in the first half. He's perfect from the floor. Copain with the blocking foul drawn on Makura, his second, and that'll send Troy to the line. This has been a really fun first half so far.
Well, Cincinnati's inability to convert in transition leads to a run out. And Trayvon Blewett, man, rocking the rim.
I beg your pardon, by the way, I said it was a second. It's the third on Makura, as you see what Blewett's done so far tonight. 23 points. Xavier is 15-2 when Blewett scores 20 plus, but Cincinnati's not making hay at the free throw line.
5 of 13. Is that basket moving? Can you tell? Man.
A brutal first half at the free throw stripe for Cincinnati. Copain able to split. So both McCura and Jones, as the scorers table has it, both have 3 fouls here in this first half.
You see Cincinnati switching just about every cross of the ball.
They even kind of hedged out with the sizable O'Mara playing the 5. They even switched out on that. Good job to recover by Brooks. And with 6 on the shot clock, Xavier will use a timeout. 1:37 for the first half in a 5-point game. We return in half a minute.
The 2 winningest programs in the history of the sport. The 2 winningest programs in the history of the sport. Run, baby, run. What a capper for a great SEC Big 12 challenge.
This is going to be a blockbuster.
Saturday primetime presented by AT&T, a Sonic blockbuster. Kansas and Kentucky, 6:15 Eastern on ESPN. We'll be on ESPN Radio for that as well. 5 to shoot for Xavier, up by 5. And a carrying violation. So how about that, Seth? You were talking to Oscar Robertson about it, and a carrying violation on Trayvon Blewett.
Big O said if he could handle it like they do right now, he would average 40 a game. Forget about it. He averaged a triple-double. Like we're talking about Russell Westbrook right now.
Yep.
Hey, Len, the guy averaged a triple-double.
And Seth, he did it without a 3-point line, too, in the NBA.
It's incredible. I mean, Oscar Robertson could get the ball anywhere he wanted. Hey, Lenny, would you like to play with him?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ask Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, even in the twilight of Oscar's career, got to win a championship because he was the guy that made that Milwaukee Bucks team go. And that was the end of his career.
3-point game after the Clark bucket. 65 ticks for the first. Gooden on the drive and out of bounds with 17 to shoot. Kyle Washington on the interior.
Take a look on the drive right there. Good job by Johnson to slow the drive, and then Washington comes over to help. And that's the anatomy of a shot block. Good defense and an excellent anticipation and help side.
It's Evans on Blewett. Evans trying to stick with Trayvon Blewett. He's been unstoppable in the first half. Gooden. Bernard. And the floater will not go. Evans flies in for the rebound and a traveling violation as he was going down to the deck. Couldn't get rid of it. So Xavier will keep it at this end, and Mick Cronin upset.
Well, the rule is if you lose your footing and you hit the deck after a rebound like that, it is a travel. But the argument is it was a Xavier player underneath that created the fall. And obviously Mick is not going to get any solace out of that one.
Off the curl, Gooden knocks down a 3. When Xavier struggled in their 3-game losing streak against Butler and Villanova and Creighton, they shot a combined 15 of 66 from 3-point range in those games. Tonight in the first half, they are 9 of 14 from downtown, and Mick Cronin uses that use it or lose it timeout.
And give Xavier all the credit in the world. They're getting this done with 2 of their starters on the bench. Rasheed Gatson, of course, Edmund Sumner. They're just not getting it done. But guys coming off the bench are. You know, Kaiser Gates, that's one guy that's getting it done. J.P. McCura, another guy off the penetration. And Trayvon Blewett, well, we've sung his praises throughout this game.
An incredible first half from the outside. An impressive shooting display, especially from Blewett, who's gone 5 of 5 from 3-point land. Remember, not the most efficient shooter over the course of a full season is Blewett. Not the most efficient shooting team over the course of the season is Xavier. But red hot in the first 19 and a half.
Sometimes these rivalries can bring the best out of you. When you look at all of the wonderful rivalries we've spoken of, there's always a guy who steps up, you know, who plays up and beyond what they've been doing throughout the course of a season. Right now, we're seeing Trayvon Blewett at least for a half.
About a second and a half, maybe a little more on the difference, so Cincinnati can essentially hold to the last shot of the first half. Copain Trying to drive through defenders, and he'll draw the foul. A couple of shots coming with 6.2 in the half. So X Games Aspen over on ESPN tonight. When that's done, Sports Center at night with our man SVP. We'll have the scores and highlights. Tiger Woods back in action at Torrey Pines. Latest from the Australian Open. Roger Federer is in the finals. Rafael Nadal will play at 3:30 a.m. this morning. Serena and Venus will battle in the finals on the women's side. And a look at Super Bowl 51. Sports Center at night with our man SVP after X Games Aspen on ESPN.
That possession was a prime example of Mick Cronin's exhortation to Troy Copain to be more aggressive offensively. And he took it upon himself to win his way through a bunch of defenders, but he can't make it pay off, as once again another missed free throw. And when Cincinnati looks back at this, they're going to be kicking themselves this half. Absolutely. To see how many they've missed and opportunities they've given away.
6 of 15, I was going to say, Lenny, so far in the first half. Awful first half for Cincy. Copain splits another pair. 6.2, plenty of time. Trey Scott will check into the game. Clark will go to the bench to avoid any type of contact.
Sumner's back in the ball game as well.
Yep. It comes into Sumner. Sumner, the kick, blew it for the largest. Xavier, oh my goodness! Is there anything that did not go down for Trayvon Blewett in a monster, epic, memorable half of basketball in the Crosstown Shootouts history?
That young man says it all right there. I don't believe what I just saw. He's not even square. Sumner pushes it. Now look, nobody near him. He's screaming for it. You got to get closer. And he's not even square and still gets it up. That's clean living right there, brother.
8 of 8 from the floor, 6 of 6 from downtown, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. One of the great halves individually ever in this rivalry to give Xavier its largest lead at the half. 44-36. Adnan Burke, Carol Lawson, Jeff Goodman. Guys, it's yours. Have some fun. '84th Crosstown Shootout in the Queen City has not disappointed so far. High pace, high octane, and Trayvon Blewett was the star. In a 44-36 halftime lead, it's the largest for Xavier. As we get set for the second, Adam Amin, Len Elmore, Seth Greenberg is with us as well. We know about the rivalry. It's intense. It's high octane. One story in that first half. It's tonight's power performance brought to us by Kohler Power. Lenny, Trayvon Blewett was the star of the night in the first half so far.
Yeah, and what's remarkable about it is this young man came into this game struggling mightily over the last 5 games, just shooting 35% from the field, 27% from beyond the arc. But you throw that out the window when you're playing that rivalry game. And he has found places where he can really knock them down. Cincinnati's slow getting to him, which is amazing considering how hot he's been. And then on that final shot of the half, they get to him too late there. And man, you talk about momentum. Wow.
So going back to the last game, he's made his last 8 3-point attempts. Perfect from the floor. The last shot was something out of outer space that happened to fall down from beyond the right wing. I mean, incredible stuff from Trayvon Blewett, whose career high, by the way, came earlier this year, 27 points against Colorado. Moments ago, our Seth Greenberg was with Cincinnati head coach Mick Cronin.
Mick, Blewett made some really tough shots. Any adjustments so defensively on him?
Try to execute the game plan. Don't leave Blewett Mercura. Just terrible, terrible defensive execution on our part. And I'm the coach, makes it my fault.
Offensively, you got good shots. You got the ball inside. Any changes offensively?
A couple times we didn't kick it out when we should have, but hey, we got 36 points. We're shooting 48% from the field. That's not our problem.
Got to make some free throws.
That'll help. Thanks.
I'll tell you what, the story of this is pretty simple. It's what Xavier's doing, and that's knocking down shots, 10 of 15 from 3. And what Cincinnati is not doing, they've missed 8 free throws, which again is the difference in this ballgame.
Same 10 that started this game, start the second half. There is a scorer's note. We were questioning it in the first half as well. Indeed, J.P. Mercura only has 2 fouls instead of 3. Kyle Washington right back on the board. He's got 5. And Cincinnati is within 6.
And you heard Mick Cronin been talking to Seth, talk about executing the game plan, and going inside is paramount.
Gary Clark picks up his second foul. 84th crosstown shootout, only the 3rd time that these two teams are ranked when they have met in this long-standing rivalry going back to 1927. Cincinnati on a 10-game win streak. Overall, 19-game home win streak. Trayvon Blewett picks up right where he left off. It's a new career high in threes, a new career high in points. He's got 29.
And when we talk about challenge shots, every one of his three-point makes has been challenged, and he's still knocking them down. And that one off the drive by Edmund Sumner, who hasn't really had a chance to create.
Johnson cannot answer, but Washington with the offensive rebound. Right back to Johnson, and the senior can't get it to go. Slapped alive by Blewett, and back comes Xavier. Xavier looking for its first win over a ranked opponent this year, but a turnover, and here come the Bearcats. This is the largest lead at 9. Copain squares and connects. He's averaged 8 points per game in his 3 losses to Xavier. He's got 9 tonight.
Well, he's going to be called upon again. He's the guy who hasn't looked for a shot often enough. And for a team like Cincinnati, he's the guy that makes them go. He's going to have to start asserting himself.
Johnson knocks it away. Johnson, the high dribble will force Tony Green to call his second carrying violation. 1 each way, and it'll be Xavier basketball.
Yeah, ball got a little bit ahead of Kevin Johnson. Might have gotten bumped a little bit and lost control. But nevertheless, that's a turnover. Another lost opportunity for Cincinnati.
They go inside this time, and Gaston can't connect. Seth, your thoughts in the first 20 minutes. What did you see from both ends?
Well, Trayvon Blewett was absolutely terrific. And, you know, we've all seen guys get off like that. But here's my thing for you, Len. When you've played against a guy that's got it going that well, you got to stay attached with him. Forget about switching. You know, you've got to stay attached to him. You got to make him put it on the floor. What would you do if you were chasing a guy like that, Len?
Well, you know, I'd forget about the team concept as we see Edmund Sumner get in the act with the slam. You got to forget about the team concept when it comes to defense and not sag off your man or anything. You got to play tag with a guy like that, and you got to play physical. You know, there might be an instance where he goes up for a shot. You might get whacked on the arm just a little bit harder than normal, just to let him know I'm still here.
That's that New York City in you, Len.
It worked.
Washington with his second field goal this second half. He's got 7. 6-point game, 3 minutes into the second. Sumner nearly got the friendly bounce. The tap back would not go. Gaston's second and third try, and Washington squares. Energy has been high from this capacity crowd. Over 13,000, a sellout at Fifth Third Arena tonight, where they've won 19 in a row at home at the Bearcats. Foul called on Trayvon Blewett. That'll be his second of the night. Little aggression from Edmund Sumner.
Yeah, he hasn't been involved much because of foul trouble. You know, it's a young man who really creates opportunities for his teammates with his quickness and penetration. It hasn't really needed it because Trayvon Blewett has been a man possessed.
Evans, Cincinnati's leading scorer. His putback wouldn't go, and that one's tapped back up. The long reach of the 6'11 freshman Nasir Brooks. There to tap it back. Here they come at Fifth Third. He still hasn't missed. Trayvon Blewett is 10 for 10 from the floor. His 8th three-pointer. You're watching one of the great performances in college basketball this season individually in Trayvon Blewett tonight. Copain trying to answer. Blewett's there for the rebound. Here's Kaiser Gates trying to settle things down. Wants that isolation on this side of the floor with Gaston. It's Blewett with Evans tightly guarding him. Sumner barreling into the lane. Will be a foul called. 5 minutes into the second half, the story continues to be the red-hot night of Trayvon Blewett, 10 of 10 from the floor in 32.
Yeah, and again, Cincinnati keeps forgetting that he's on the floor. Another challenge three, and Blewett says no problem. Well, we're back with Xavier leading 52-45, and a hot hand like Trayvon Blewett. Seth, you and I talked about it. Let's go inside the play. All right, Jacob Evans right here. He's guarding Blewett, and the help side is Kevin Johnson. Now take a look at Blewett standing out there. You got to cheat, man. You can't play the team concept with a guy that hot. That's what I was talking about before. I would have cheated off him, at least play tag.
With a guy like that, you've got to stay attached to him. You're playing that matchup zone, but when he goes through like he did earlier in that play, forget about helping on the backside.
Right.
You've got to stay with him. You've got to shrink the court from the top, but you can't leave. Right now in this game, you can't leave Trayvon Blewett. You've got to stay with him, stay attached to him. You've got to make someone else beat you.
I mean, the guy is the difference in the game. There's no question about it.
It's incredible the job he's done. You got to give Xavier credit for reversing the ball, finding him, but right now that's what Nick Cronin was talking about at halftime. We have not done a very good job of locating him and running him off of that line.
And I mentioned it before. They get to him, but he's 8 for 8 on challenge threes. Can you imagine? 8 for 8 with a hand in his face.
So there you got to do, you got to make sure he doesn't catch the basketball.
Right.
You got to take the ball out of his hands.
The shot clock is down to 2. Copain nearly banked one in. Evans draws a foul. They'll go to the line. Wild sequence, guys.
Well, Cincinnati has to make up for what they lack in making shots with effort, because that's the only thing that's going to get them extra opportunities and get them to the free throw line. And even then, you know, they got to find a way to start putting some points on the board, because Xavier still has that momentum, and Trayvon Blewett has just been unstoppable, literally unstoppable.
A bad shooting first half from the foul line for Cincinnati. 7 of 16 continues.
This is crazy.
Letty, to me, I think offensively, Cincinnati's going to be fine. I mean, they're winning the rebound war, they're winning the turnover war, they're scoring enough. This thing is really simple. Cincinnati is built on defense, you know what I mean? They're built on getting stops. They've got to figure out a way to take Blewett out of the game and contain Sumner off the bounce. They do those two things with 14 minutes left in the game. They're in pretty good shape, don't you think?
I think so, but they still have to take advantage of the easy opportunities. Misfiring on the free throw line is absolutely killing them. But you're right. With Xavier shooting way over 50%, when have you heard that against a Cincinnati team?
Yeah.
They've got to shore up the D.
They've got to communicate better.
Got O'Mara posting up down there, Seth. Gooden had a very good first half. This is Blewett. That's the first really wild shot he's taken. First time that he's missed, and the crowd recognizes that too.
That was totally out of rhythm for him, and maybe that's a sign.
Clark tried to kick to Copain, and it was knocked away by Makura. Gooden with Clark denying, and a whistle underneath the rim called by Doug Schaus.
Well, right now you're going to take a look at the defense. Jacob Evans on Trayvon Blewett. That time he stayed with him, didn't play that team defense and sag. And they're finally getting the message. For them, you hope it's not too late.
Copain with the steal. Here comes Evans. For 4-point game.
Now look at Evans in the corner. He's not even paying attention to what's going on down low. He is sticking the blue.
Cincinnati down by 4. Copain, Clark, Washington, Evans, and Johnson, the starting 5 for the Bearcats. It's Clark against McCura, pounding his way inside. O'Mara came over with the help, forcing the tie-up, and the possession arrow gives it to the Musketeers. Excellent defense that time by Xavier.
Absolutely. You see Blewett step in, but once Clark takes his eye off, O'Mara drops down to help. And they certainly need to help McCura, who's got, again, the argument is, does he have 3 personals? Or
it is now 2. Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't that they did take 1 off from that first half. So 2 fouls on McCura.
You know, they can ill afford to have him get 3 at this point in time.
Sumner, Blewett, Jones now in, McCura, and Bernard. That's the 5 out there for the 24th ranked team in the country. Sumner. Run down by Cumberland, who's checked into the game. Sumner a little slow to get up. Remember, he's been nursing that shoulder injury, and he's been dealing with injury all year. Cumberland for 3. Things got aggressive with Cumberland and McCura, and a foul is called against the freshman.
I don't mind that foul if I'm Mick Cronin. He's playing him aggressively. Yes, he's going to get a lesson in how to play. And as a freshman, you ultimately have to learn, you know, when it's time to let up a little bit, particularly when you're right in front of the official. But you're sending a message by playing that kind of physical brand. Take a look right in the middle of the lane. I don't know, man. McCura raised his hands to clear, too. They both could have been called for 1.
And McCura with a beautiful pass to Sumner, who draws contact. And he'll have shots on the other side of this break. If you didn't understand, if you didn't feel it, if it wasn't palpable or tangible for you, I hope that the first 28 minutes of this night from the Queen City has showed you how great this rivalry is. Cincinnati is trailed by as many as 9 in the second. It's a 1-point game, 8 minutes into this second stanza. This was during the timeout. Mick Cronin was actually going back and forth with John Higgins, who's coming off his 7th Final Four. John Higgins was officiating the Georgia game last night where Mark Fox got thrown out. He was very hot with the officials. And Seth, this was kind of going on in front of you. What did you see? What do you think is going on right now?
You know, if John Higgins didn't whack him right there, my gut feeling is he may think that they blew the call. And, you know, you're not going to penalize them twice by missing a call and then penalizing the team. So, look, John Higgins ran Mark Fox last night at Georgia. So it's not like he won't do it again. But sometimes you got to take a step back and say, all right, did I get a clear look at that call? And it's time to move on. And Mick Cronin got his message across. He's in a 1-point game now. He's got the game right where he wants it, Lenny. Yeah. He can't take his team out of it by getting a tee right now.
But he also wants to make sure that his guys are protected in a physical brand of basketball. And as I mentioned, that was in response to the McCura-Cumberland dust-up where Cumberland was called for the foul. And I thought either one of them could have been called. Mick pleaded his case. I think he got the message across because, as you said, he didn't get teed up.
No doubt about it. I'll tell you one thing. In the last 3 or 4 minutes, Len, don't you think the temperature in this game, it's got up a tad, hasn't it? This is back to being a rivalry game. We talk about, you know, approaching this game with great intensity, but obviously emotion, but not getting emotional. This game's about to get emotional.
Remember, Chris Mack told us before the game he wasn't going to treat this game any different than he would a conference game or anything else. That was then. This is now.
With 11 minutes left, this game has just changed significantly.
Yep.
Cumberland lost it on the deck, recovered by Scott from the baseline, left it short. Evans is there. He's there again. Offensive rebounding continues to be a factor for the Bearcats.
16 second chance points for Cincinnati, 0 for Xavier. And Xavier again led the nation in the fewest second chance points allowed at 6.6. So Cincinnati has kind of blown that cover.
That's exactly what you were talking about, Lenny. Akira all the way against 3 defenders, and here comes Cumberland. Cincinnati hasn't led since it was 13-12. Oh!
They're letting them play, folks. They are letting them play, and play they are.
And that is now 4 fouls on Edmund Sumner. And Cincinnati has an advantage for the first time since the 13:30 mark of the first half. In his first rivalry matchup with Xavier, the freshman Cumberland has 7 points, but a Cincinnati foul here.
And as I said, at the end of this game, Cincinnati's going to really kick themselves for the missed opportunities. I mean, you miss free throws, but this is a significant number that they've given away.
Gooden. Quentin Gooden, no. Cumberland's there. Cincinnati on the push. Cumberland into Scott's hands. And a foul on the inside called against Xavier on the floor. Well, if you haven't watched James Harden play basketball this season, he is an MVP candidate, I think, right there with Russell Westbrook. And trust the process, right? The Sixers have won 9 of their last 12. So the Rockets, a 34-win team, will head to Philadelphia. NBA Countdown starts it up tomorrow, charged by Mountain Dew on ESPN. Watch ESPN and the ESPN app at 7 Eastern time. I think it's Westbrook 1, Harden 2 right now in the MVP race. Evans lost it. And Tony Green will say it will stay at this end of the floor.
With Trayvon Blewett, the only Xavier starter on the floor right now, Chris Mack is going to take his chances at this critical time and try to hold the fort until his starters can get some rest and really overcome the foul trouble.
Yeah.
And these guys did a terrific job in the first half when foul trouble hit Xavier. So Chris Mack putting a lot of heavy reliance on his bench.
Bernard just picked up his second quick foul. Remember, Bernard has gotten a bigger role since Miles Davis was suspended for the first 15 games of the season. He returned for 3 games, was not productive at all, and then last week he announced that he was leaving the program. Washington fouled by Tyreek Jones, and that is number 4 on Jones. So the bench depth getting a little thinner for Chris Mack.
You know, you see the way the game's being officiated right now after the last little altercation. They are tightening this game up. Look for both teams to try to drive the ball aggressively, get post-ups and attack off the bounce, because right now the officials are trying to get this game back under control. It's turned into an official rivalry game because both teams are attacking.
I will say this, though. On that last drive by Makora, they seemed to let him play, because there was a lot of physical contact there, and I thought that that's where they're going. But, I mean, to call it within the bounds that they're given, you know, no hand checking outside, etc., they have to do that, and they should do that.
Clark, the offensive rebound, and the putback off the Washington miss. By Blewett. It is lit in the Queen City right now. Gary Clark with a big bucket a moment ago.
It's all about those second chance points. We said that they would play a huge role, whether Cincinnati would be limited or they would be able to capitalize.
15 offensive rebounds. Copain will go to the free throw line.
Right now, Cincinnati's going back to their identity, which is hitting the glass, scoring in the paint. And it's paying dividends for them as they've now moved out to a 4-point lead.
Think about the senior from Midlothian, Virginia. This is game number 121 in his career. 5th all-time in assists. He just passed Oscar Robertson a few weeks ago for number 5 on the all-time assist list. Oscar's here tonight for a big game. Copain in his 86th career start has never beaten Xavier in the 3 meetings prior. Trying to snap the skid, trying to get the win against a crosstown rival that he so desperately wants. And Seth, we talked about this with Mick Cronin a little bit today too. This might be Cincinnati's last true chance at one of those marquee style wins. The Big East is going to have ranked teams up and down, but the American Conference is a little down right now, at least in terms of what you might tag as a quality win. This is important for Mick tonight.
This is a very big game for Mick Cronin, and besides it being here, besides it obviously being this rivalry, the American Conference with Connecticut struggling, with Temple struggling, this is a marquee game, a marquee win, and this is their seeding game. This is a game that if they win the game and take care of business in league, they're going to end up with a good seed, maybe a 5 seed or a 4 seed maybe.
No, I would agree. And the flip side of it is, you know, Xavier's got a few more chances.
Yeah.
Because of the ranked teams and the high RPI, BPI of those teams.
Blewett draws a foul while shooting the jump shot, and he's going to go to the free throw line. It will be bonus the rest of the way in this contest for both of these teams. And this is the resume comparison right now. Currently, Joe Lunardi has 6 teams out of the Big East in his field of 68. Cincinnati and the American, they're one of 2 teams. SMU is the other. So, as Seth and Len were just talking about, major resume implications for this contest for both clubs.
Well, when you look at Xavier's record, their good wins amount to Clemson, Northern Iowa twice, and Wake. Whereas Cincinnati, you know, they've beaten Iowa State, they've beaten SMU, Temple twice. So this game, obviously, for resume building, is also pretty big for Xavier, even though they have other chances. Those chances may not materialize because they've lost to Nova, they've lost to Butler, they've lost to Creighton.
They'll have shots at Nova and Butler at home. They'll also get Marquette twice. How about Marquette? They're starting to look like a legitimate team in the Big East after maybe a rocky start. Steve Wojo's doing a great job over there. Steve Wojciechowski's doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, they got a toughness transplant after giving up 60-plus points in the second half against Butler, and that allowed them to beat Villanova.
Evans puts in his 6th field goal. It's 16 on the night for the leading scorer for Cincinnati. 9 minutes to play, 6-point game, and Gooden draws the foul.
And again, Cincinnati sticking with the formula, and that's get the ball in the paint. And Seth, at a time like this, you know, when you're coaching your team and you know you got to revert back to your identity, you know, what are you telling guys with regard to going back to who you are?
Who you are and how you win, that's the key to any great basketball team. And if you lose or get away from your identity, you're basically playing to your weakness. And Mick Cronin, they're trying to get post touches and paint touches. And especially now with the way the game's being officiated, it behooves them to be the attacking team. And right now you're seeing Xavier doing the same thing. The last 9 minutes of this game could come down to a free throw shooting contest.
No doubt, man. And remember, Xavier, 36 of 49 on Sunday in their win. When they lost to Creighton in the previous game, 16 of 29. Free throws have come into a big role for this Xavier team all season, as Cumberland will go to the line now.
Well, both teams shoot under 70%, so
right.
It might be a comedy of errors down the stretch.
You know, it's the interesting thing is right there. Xavier comes out, goes a little 1-3-1 to try to take away dribble penetration, Lenny. And as a coach right down there, Chris Mack's got to be ready to pull his hair out, although he's running out of hair. He gives up straight line drive in the middle of the floor. The one thing you can't give up, Lenny, right, against the 1-3-1 zone is you keep it out of the lane.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, as I see with zones, particularly at 1-3-1, it's so spread, there are gaps there. And guys with quickness with the ball can exploit those gaps.
I'm interested to see right now the defensive game plan on Blue at the last 5 minutes has been great.
He said,
really concentrate on how they're guarding him, staying home and denying him.
Bernard kind of maybe got away with steps, and then he ends up burying his first points of the night on a 3, and Xavier's back within 1 with 8:35 to play.
and the official said that he fumbled the ball, which allowed him to travel, but that was pretty close.
It was close if nothing else. Evans.
Are you kidding me?
Where's that shot? Clark flies in to save the possession after a bad Evans delivery.
And that's what I mean by letting him play.
Cumberland deep. Knocks it down.
Hey, Seth, I see you grimacing. That is not the kind of offense you want to run right now.
Hey, I'm happy that I was on talkback because I just said they can't settle being a 3-point shooting team against this defense. Or maybe they can, Len.
Gooden off the glass, and the freshman with his second field goal of the night. Back to a 2-point game inside 8 to play.
Maybe they can. I'm telling you, on a night like this, these guys are being so special, anything goes.
They still can't settle. They got to look to get the ball to the elbow, to the baseline, and then to the middle of the floor.
Evans, that's a settled shot right there, but it comes loose on the interior to Nasir Brooks. Second chance points tonight for Cincinnati.
And that's what gives Cincinnati the confidence that they can take those runners because they know guys are going to get them.
Brooks tagged with the foul on the interior. 7:12 to play. 4-point game. How about this from way outside? Knocking it down from Cleveland was Cumberland. That's a no. All right, I guess he made it, but what are you doing, shot? Plenty of little ones are here tonight enjoying a Xavier Cincinnati game. That's awesome. But earlier today, we got a nice video feed from our ABC affiliate in town. How about this? Beat Xavier. These are newborns and already being indoctrinated into the rivalry between Cincinnati and Xavier. Here are a couple of adults who know this rivalry well, and some of the coaching connection set that you see. I mean, Skip Prosser, the late Skip Prosser, Chris Mack started with him, came back with him to Wake Forest before he returned to Xavier. Pat Cronin is in the house. That's Mick's dad, a Hall of Famer in the Cincinnati area. These guys bleed this rivalry like so many do in this town.
They grew up on this rivalry. If you think about Mick Cronin and his dad, a legendary coach in the Cincinnati Coaches Hall of Fame. I mean, Chris Mack was part of this rivalry as a player. And think about the coaches, Lenny, these guys have worked under. Some of the great teachers and coaches in the history of our game.
Yeah, and it's no coincidence. Both of these teams so fundamentally sound. You know, they're really raised on defense. And, you know, the students have quickly become the teachers. And both Chris Mack and Mick Cronin, their records speak for themselves.
They took a little bit of each one of the guys that they've worked for and kind of done it in their own personality. And I think that's what great coaches do. They can't be a Thad Matta. They can't be a Rick Pitino. But they can take the good parts that they learned from Pitino and Matta.
Kyle Washington with a chance at a 3-point play. We'll go to the free throw line with a chance to give Cincinnati its largest lead of the night.
You know, the last time we were here at the SMU game, Mick Cronin told us that Kyle Washington can make the hardest shots, the most difficult shots. He makes them. And there you saw right there, twisting, turning one-hander in a critical part of this game. And he made it look easy.
ESPN 100 player out of high school, 70 games at NC State, redshirted last year after transferring, but his free throw woes continue tonight. 2 of 8 from the free throw line. 6:40 to play, 69-63 Cincinnati. Adam Amin, Len Elmore, Seth Greenberg, our great crew. Just the 3rd time in the 84 meetings that Xavier and Cincinnati are both in the top 25. Makura with the left-handed scoop, and it's snatched by Clark.
And again, a great example of Clark's hands.
Yeah. Cumberland transition triple, way long, and he knew it as soon as he released. And then Clark had it tied up by Malcolm Bernard. Now Bernard is arguing that he had taken the possession away, but it seemed to be long enough between the two simultaneously for them to call a jump ball. It's Cincinnati ball in the possession.
And official John Higgins right on top of it.
Sumner comes back in. Gooden is out. Sumner back at the point. Copain's looking for Evans, and he gets it. Cumberland got it to go, and a foul! Largest Bearcat lead. It's the 4th foul on J.P. McCura.
See the drive. I'm not sure McClure could do anything else. He took the path away. That's just kind of tough luck right there. Maybe a different angle from the official. But right there, it looked like McClure took the path away.
And I think this goes back to Seth's point about how this game is going to be officiated the rest of the way. 6 minutes to go, and here they come again at Fifth Third Arena. McCura will draw the foul on the tough reverse. And 2 shots coming up for an 82% foul shooter. And Mick Cronin was upset at that last foul called as well against his big man Brooks. That's the 3rd on Nasir.
You know, it's interesting, Letty, that Mick Cronin's done a really good job with offensive and defensive substitutions. When they're going back in defense on a dead ball, Brooks comes in. When they get a dead ball offensively, here comes Washington. He's really done a nice job with that. And the other thing I think it's been terrific at, in the last 6 to 8 minutes after he got after the officials a little bit, this game changed. And it also changed with his defense on Blue. What do you think about that, Len?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one, the officials started to call it, you know, a little more tightly, but more importantly, I think his team started to recognize, you know, they got an opportunity here, particularly on the defensive end. It's time for them to step up. That last play, you know, I'm not sure where the foul came from.
They've kind of reflected Mick's passion in the second half for sure. I think they needed to be jump-started, and I think seeing him fight for them kind of gave them the idea of, hey, let's get behind this guy.
How about that touch from J.P. McCura? He's got 5 in the second half as Mick Cronin continues to pace the sidelines.
And those might have been the first second chance points Xavier scored. Couldn't have come at a better time.
How about the freshman, Jaron Cumberland, having a monster second half. He's got 13 of his 15 in the second in his first rivalry game. 4:45 on the clock. Here is Sumner. Blew it. His first shot in about 10 minutes, and he buried it from the outside. Hadn't taken a shot since the 14-minute mark. He comes right back with his 3rd 3 of the half, and it is his 9th three-pointer on 10 attempts. 3-point game, timeout in Cincinnati. We've given you the formalities of all of this. 84th meeting, Xavier's won 3 in a row, but this is one of the great performances in the history of this rivalry. Blewett had been quiet for the last about 9.5 minutes of game time, but he comes right back with a 3, 11 of 12, 9 of 10 from three-point range, tying the Xavier record for three-pointers in a game. And he has kept Xavier in this after trailing by as many as 9 here in the second half. It's 74-71. Cincinnati trying to snap a 3-game skid against Xavier. Bearcats have won 10 in a row overall and 19 in a row here at Fifth Third Arena. A win tonight would make it 20 in a row, the longest home win streak under Mick Cronin. Xavier had a 3-game losing streak until their win on Sunday. trying to get a crucial resume-building road top 25 win in a tough atmosphere and a sellout at Fifth Third Arena. Adam Amin, Len Elmore, Seth Greenberg, 4:33 to play. You are all caught up. If you were dumb enough to miss the first 35.5 minutes, we've told you everything you need to know. Lenny, your thoughts for these final 4:30? I'll get Seth's as well.
Well, first of all, Cincinnati cannot afford the amnesia they demonstrated on that last Blewett 3. He hadn't been shooting the ball much in the few minutes prior to that, and they forgot how to play it.
Cumberland, another one. That one off the heel, and John Higgins calls a foul underneath the rim.
And the other thing is, if I'm seniors, particularly Troy Copain, who's on the floor right now, I'm reminding every one of those guys out there on the floor, I haven't beaten this team, and I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving this floor unless we win this game.
Seth, what are you thinking, pal?
You know, right now you're going to see a lot of the same. I think that you're going to see Xavier try to change their defenses a little bit coming out of timeouts. Right there, they came out and with the 1-3-1 because Cincinnati, 2 of the last 3 possessions, have settled for a jump shot. Now they offensive rebounded one, and they're going to try to find a way to get Blewett going again. The last possession, Cumberland just fell asleep. That's a freshman mistake. I look for Mick Cronin to get Evans back on him right now and stay attached.
That is the case, Seth. Sumner, beautiful bounce pass to Jones, and he draws the foul underneath.
Well, we talked about the havoc Edmund Sumner can wreak when he gets into the paint. Hasn't had a great opportunity because of foul trouble, but that's a great example right there. Freezes the defense into watching him, and then he creates a masterpiece with that pass.
Washington on the foul, and Tyreek Jones with his first point of the second half. Sonic blockbuster on Saturday, Kansas, Kentucky. Top 5 matchup on ESPN. I'll be on ESPN Radio. Seth will be on College Game Day starting at 11 o'clock Eastern Time from Lexington. 2 free throws knocked down by Tyreek Jones, approaching the 4-minute mark of this first half. 3-point game. Akira helping out on the defense with Copain out there. Zone defense right now for Xavier. Copain looking for a spot. It's Cumberland. He has not been shy tonight. And a whistle and a foul is called as Cumberland went into the lane and Jones stepped in front. 3:45 to go. Cincinnati's largest lead has been 9. Xavier, they've led by 9 in this second half. Momentum shifting, pendulum swinging. We've got 3:45 to go in Cincy.
The 2 winningest programs in the history of the sport. Run, baby, run. What a capper for a great SEC Big 12 challenge.
This is going to be a blockbuster.
They played an overtime thriller at Allen Fieldhouse last year rather, beg your pardon. They'll play at Rupp Arena on Saturday at 6:15 Eastern on ESPN. I'll be there on ESPN Radio. Seth Greenberg, you and I are driving to Lexington, and we're going to get a chance to see one of the best backcourt matchups of the year. Frank Mason III against Malik Monk. Great transition players, both of these guards.
Yeah, both of these teams are terrific in transition, but Len, you know what? I'm going with your guys. I think this game might be determined up front, and this is a Kansas team that has struggled defending the paint, and Bam Adebayo, he is a force down low. Kentucky's got to get him touches.
Yeah, Landon Lucas has to be bigger than he's played throughout this season. And when you talk about transition, that's about rebounding.
Trayvon Blewett continues to have a sparkling night with 39 points out of the 75 that Xavier has scored. Seth's game day partner Reese Davis along with Jim Calhoun of Indiana, Michigan when we're done after this thriller. Copain for 3. Offensive rebound, Clark. Recoils and recovers. Evans for 3. Got it all! Inside of 3 to go.
Boy, attacking the glass, second chance opportunities, invaluable for Cincinnati.
McCura will trigger one. In and out, and it's rebounded by Evans. 4-point game, 2:40 to go.
And Seth, I don't know about you, but I think they got to come out of this zone. It's too easy to rebound offensively against, and the second chance points are killing Xavier.
Totally agree, Lenny. When you play that 1-3-1, you're 2-on-1 on the block, and Cincinnati is flying to the glass. Yeah, they're settling to shoot the three, Lenny, but they got those two big dudes on the block, and they are attacking the glass.
Seth, to your point, 19 offensive rebounds for Cincinnati tonight.
And the kick out, so important. Look at the gray shirts inside. Gary Clark didn't have his feet settled under him. That's why he kicked it back outside. And Copain makes the extra pass. Now, I guarantee you, one of the reasons Chris Mack called his timeout is to reset another defense.
No doubt about it. They're going to have to go man-to-man. And you saw when the first shot went up, you saw the two black shirts on either block. They're 2-on-1 on the low guy in that zone. And you know what? A big key to winning basketball games is turnover differential and rebounding differential. Cincinnati's winning both of them right now.
That's something Seth told me over a club sandwich earlier today. Good stuff, my man.
You're paying attention, Adam. I appreciate that. You're the only one that's listening. Remember, I've got to hang out with Billis all weekend.
So the hour show is 30 for Billis and 30 for the rest of you guys. That
That's 30 for Billis, about 5 each for me and Jay Will.
Here's Cincinnati up by 4. Evans looking for the blow-by, and he draws the foul with Bernard stepping up to cover him. Shots coming here for Cincinnati. Both of these teams, when they're trying to put games away this year, it's come down to the free throw line, especially for Xavier. Cincinnati is 14 of 29 at the free throw line tonight. A little better in the second half. Clutch free throws for both teams coming down the stretch.
Well, you miss 15 free throws, that's going to weigh on your mind. They've got to forget about that and focus on the moment at hand, which Evans apparently has.
You know, an important thing at the end of the game is getting the right guys to the free throw line, Lenny.
Yep.
They're going to see the ball in Evans' hands and Copain's hands, because those are the guys that can finish this game. The problem is Xavier right now, Lenny, don't you think? They go man, and what does Cincinnati do? They post Evans, they drive the basketball. They're in a tough spot, especially in foul trouble.
Yeah, they've done a nice job isolating when Xavier goes man. We'll see right here, though. Blewett has got to get something.
He's got Evans on him. Sumner guarded by Johnson, Cincinnati's best defender. They get the roll to the rim for Jones in traffic, and he draws the foul.
That time Blewett acted as a decoy. You know, the best way to get open for a shot is to set screens. Blewett sets a screen, and then he gets out of the way. Screen and roll, nice job there.
Seth, that felt like a well-designed offensive set for Chris Mack's crew.
Really good job. Obviously, Blewett, you have to stay home on him. You don't want to give up a three off the perimeter, so what does that do? It opens up the roller. Lenny, if you played in that offense and you were that wide open on that roll, you would have. How many did you have at Maryland? What you average? Lefty didn't throw you the ball enough.
Remember, I had to go get it. I had two guys in McMillan and Lucas. Their numbers would fall a lot more than mine.
What was Lefty thinking?
Well, now he's going to the Maryland Hall of Fame. I know it's been quite some time. We've been cheering for that for a while.
And how about this? 47% free throw shooter. Tyreek Jones buries them both under pressure.
He's gone 4 of 5 at the line tonight. Back to a 4-point game, 1:55 to go. That hard hedge from Jones, and he goes back to recover. Evans trapped in the corner, finds Clark. Underneath Washington. No, but a foul on Bernard.
How about the unselfishness of Gary Clark? You know, out of the trap, no panic, they get it to Clark. And Clark had a good shot. Washington had a better one. And, man, it looked like all ball.
Pretty clean play, but if I'm Mick Cronin right now, I'd probably stay away from all this ball screen action because they're trapping all those ball screens. And, yeah, you can throw out of it and make a play, but with the way the rules are now with the no 5-second call, I'd rather see them move the ball, move people, and then get the ball to Evans or Copain and have him make a play.
Big free throw here. Kyle Washington, typically good. 4 of 11 at the stripe tonight. In and out. Empty possession for the Bearcats. Still a 4-point deficit for the Musketeers. It is Sumner and Blewett and Jones and Bernard and McCura. Sumner, the drive. Washington with the block. Bernard to Blewett. The pull-up pop. And he cannot get the roll. Clark is there for the rebound. In traffic, he gets it to Copain. 80 seconds to go in Cincinnati.
Chris Mack looking for a jump ball on that last possession.
He had 3 defenders right around Gary Clark surrounding him. Big possession, both sides. The clock is at 6 in the hands of the veteran of 121 games. A 3. Sumner, no good. Washington's there for the rebound, and a foul is called with 41.2 to go.
Tell you what, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and Troy Copain is both. Shot clock below 10, it's Copain time.
Mick Cronin said, this guy has to make shots. No shot bigger than that one to put him up 7. Tyreek Jones has fouled out of this game, and Kyle Washington, after a rocky night at the free throw line, can perhaps seal it for the Bearcats here. Still plenty of time, though.
I don't like messing with a guy's shot, but he's got too much backspin on that free throw. Seth, what do you think?
You know, what's that?
I just think it's too much backspin. I've seen him shoot enough now that that ball spins much too much, and that's why it keeps rattling and coming out.
He shoots a hard ball. I mean, it's not soft, it's not up high enough, but this game's going to come down to getting stopped. One stop right now.
McCura into traffic, out of bounds. Evans was last to touch, racing back. 33.8 to go. Washington's going to come out of the game, and Nasir Brooks will check in. So Washington struggling at the stripe. We'll take him out and bring in an even bigger body on defense.
Got to get a high percentage shot where you're going to get fouled or a good look.
Blewett, tough shot, and tipped alive by O'Mara and grabbed by Copain. He is fouled with 26.9 to go, and the Bearcat fans are feeling it in Cincinnati. When we're done, we'll take it to Ann Arbor, Indiana, and Michigan. Reese Davis, Jim Calhoun on the call. Troy Copain, 3 meetings, 3 losses against the crosstown rival. He's waited a long time for moments like this against Xavier, and a chance to put it away. $15 points, 9 in the second half.
And Troy Copain for Cincinnati over the years has shown up time and time again in clutch situations.
Troy Copain is a winning player. You know, Lenny, you play with certain guys that they don't worry about stats, they don't worry about anything but trying to help their team win. And he does all the little things to help the team win, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I've seen that with this young man since he was a freshman.
McCura missed it. Cincinnati ball with 17.2 to go. Chris Mack is just frustrated with John Higgins. I wonder if they'll go to the monitor to take a look at it, because I thought perhaps it could be Xavier basketball. And that's indeed what they're going to do.
Adam, think about down the stretch of this game, the plays that Copain has made. All right, we're going to look at the matter. You check it out there, Adam. We're going to make you the official.
I'm the official. You know, the position belonged to Bernard. Johnson was right there as well. And that was very, very, very close.
Right.
I always thought the officials were terrific. I never argued with them, so I just, whatever they said.
You never had a word to say to an official in your career, Seth.
I said, yes, sir. Whatever you say.
How are you doing? Hope everything is well. Good call. You know, based on that last look, Seth, real quick, I think Bernard had the position. I don't know if there's anything to overturn the call that was on the floor, which was Cincinnati ball.
I agree with you. I was very well behaved here. In fact, I think I got thrown out of this building once.
Well, we were going down the stairs, as you guys at home get another look at this. We were going down to the stairs to visit with Chris Mack in the locker room, and you said, man, the last time I made this trip, I think I was getting ejected from a game while you're coaching at South Florida, man.
That was against Hugs. We were down about 100.
Again, Seth, if you love him or you hate him, or you're milquetoast and don't have any opinion on him whatsoever, tune in to watch my guy. Maybe he'll change your mind. Maybe he'll lock in your opinion of him anyway. Game day, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Seth and the boys will be there from Lexington. They'll take you all the way to 6:15. Sonic Blockbuster, top 5 matchup. Number 2 Kansas, number 4 Kentucky. An absolute classic in overtime at Allen Fieldhouse. We'll see what Lexington has in store for us on Saturday. And indeed, John Higgins, I believe, has just overturned the call. I think they saw something that maybe we didn't see, and they got a couple of extra looks at it. And they're going to go change the call on the floor and give it to Xavier with 17.2 to go.
If I'm Cincinnati, no foul. I just contest. No layup.
There's a contest by Johnson on the block in the corner of Gates. 14.9 remaining.
The last thing you want to do is allow Xavier a chance to put points on the board with no time elapsing.
Yeah, Mick Cronin just said, hey, straight up and down.
Right.
Straight up and down. Do not jump into a guy is what he's asking. It comes in to Bernard. Sumner will trigger it and can't get the bank home. Gates is blocked by Brooks. Loose on the deck. Clock inside of 7. Jump ball would keep it here with Xavier.
Gates' leg got caught in that scrum. And I think official Tony Green came in to kind of move everybody out of the way. Well, I think the crowd overreacted.
I agree with you on that. And again, I'm not to bring up bad history, but you got to think here.
Yeah.
9 seconds left, 6 meetings ago in 2011. That's when things got heated, and that's when things got ugly. These officials are great officials, and they're going to make sure that nothing escalates. But it's 6.7 on the clock right now, and I believe it did stop at one point here.
But I'm going to tell you, Adam, I got a feel in this game the attitudes aren't here. These guys are competing.
Yes,
you know, there's none of the vitriol that you saw in the game where, you know, the fight erupted in 2011.
Yeah.
It's just hard play. I think they were afraid that Gates' leg was going to get caught, and the officials come in to push everybody out of the way. McCurry was trying to tell guys, look out, get out of the way. But I don't think there's animosity there.
I would agree with you on that. Now, they're probably going to have to take some time off the clock here because it stopped, as you saw on the replay, at 7.5.
Yeah, probably a couple of seconds, but I totally agree with you, Lenny. I think both teams have played hard, with passion, with energy, but also with integrity. And they've competed like you're supposed to compete in a rivalry game. But it's been a well-played game, and look at the score. I mean, guys have made shots and guys have made plays.
So they'll probably use the stopwatch over on the side here. So it stops 1, 2, maybe a couple seconds. And indeed, they're going to take about almost a full second off the clock here. 5.7, so that's where the clock now sits. Indiana, Michigan is coming up on ESPN2 in moments. We'll get you right out to Ann Arbor. Reese and Jim will have the call. Blew it. A sparkling night. And he'll go to the free throw line with 0.2 to go.
Now they get silly.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what Brooks was doing. Look at the lead. Look at the time. Is that necessary?
No. And John Higgins even pulled Jacob Evans over, said, hey, nothing extra. Trying to contest, so it's going to be a Brooks foul. There will be 0.2 left. And this is basically just a chance for Trayvon Blewett to add to this game. And now Cincinnati will get Zach Tobler, the senior, into the game for his final rivalry contest.
I mean, Blewett, with all due respect, kind of went a little low with the push-off, but Brooks has got to look at the score and go high and just walk away. But, you know, it's over now. And Seth, I like the word you use, which is apropos. Talk about integrity. And that's how they played most of this game.
What a night for Troy Copain, a 16.5 assist night. Blewett will end with 40 points in one of the great performances individually in college basketball this year, and one of the most fun games we've seen all year. Ends with an 86-78 Cincinnati win. They snap the 3-game skid to Xavier. It's 11 in a row for the Bearcats overall, and the longest home court win streak under Mick Cronin at 20 straight wins. What a night in the Queen City for Len Elmore, the great Seth Greenberg. Watch him on game day at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Adam Amin. I had a blast. So did we. We take it to Michigan, Indiana and Michigan. Reese Davis, Jim Calhoun. Have some fun, guys.